Stephen, it was a nice first step on Friday, was it not?
Well, look, that was a gracious gesture on the part of Scaramucci to Sean Spicer. But several things are true. One is that Scaramucci comes into this job with no Washington experience, no experience in communications at all. He's a hedge fund guy from New York. The only way he caught the president's eye was defending the president aggressively on cable TV. And we know that Donald Trump is obsessive watcher of cable TV because he constantly tweets reactions and comments on things he's seen just a few minutes before on cable. So Scaramucci was a hero to the president in that world because he's incendiary and loyal and fervent. But those qualities are very different when you are speaking from the podium of the White House than you're speaking on cable TV. It's a very, very different format. And I think his experience is going to show very quickly. He has no experience dealing with Congress, no experience dealing with politicians, no experience dealing with the mores of Washington. And in the end, McGraw, there's only one communications director in this White House. His name is Donald Trump. There's only one spokesman. There's only one political strategist. It's all one guy. And Scaramucci, who has never been a staff person, he's always run his own shop, is about to find out that no matter how much he says he loves the president on TV, working for him is going to be very difficult.
What's interesting about all of this, Stephen Roberts, is that, Jared Kushner, his defense today is, I wasn't an expert. Scaramucci, I'm not an expert. Donald Trump, I'm not an expert. The American people elected him because he had zero experience. So the American people are kind of getting exactly what they voted for.
Well, some Americans are getting what they voted for. And you look at the polls, and you and I have talked about this many times. The president's approval rating, last ABC poll, 36%, but in other numbers, they were under 30%. Less than 30% of Americans think the president is behaving presidentially. So you got to, basically, the president's core support is about a third of America. Now, they are still, by every evidence, they're still supportive of him. They love the idea that he's an outsider. They love the idea that he's blunt-spoken. They love the idea that he's going to drain the Washington swamp, although they still want to get their money from government, but they still, in theory, like the idea. But that is not a base to govern the country. 1/3 of the country is not enough. And if the president continues to believe that all he has to do is speak to that base of fervent supporters, and that is going to get his health care plan passed, that is going to get his tax bill passed, that is going to enable him to be a popular and effective chief executive, he's just profoundly misreading the basic politics of this country.
But even their 30-some-odd% Republicans are loath to criticize the man because they're afraid of the support Donald Trump still has in their districts.
That's true to some extent, but you're starting to see, that's certainly true in many cases, but it's not universally true. You saw in the health care bill where there were a certain number of Republicans who were ready to defy the president and blunt his health care bill because they have their own political constituencies. You look at Susan Collins from Maine. You look at Dean Heller of Nevada. You look at Shelley Capito of West Virginia, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. These are all members of the Senate who have no real personal loyalty to Donald Trump, represent states that aren't necessarily centers of Trump activity, although West Virginia is. But in a place like Ohio, you have a Republican governor who gives cover to Senator Portman because he's unhappy with the president on a lot of things, including health care. So, yes, it's certainly true that that base of support is an important political factor. But there are still plenty of Republicans who are now feeling that they can dissent and that they can distance themselves. And, the leadership by a president requires two qualities. People have to respect you and they have to fear you. And I think increasingly a lot of Republicans do not respect Donald Trump, and they certainly don't fear him.
We'll wait and see what happens. The summer continues. ABC News political analyst Stephen Roberts. Have a good week.
Okay, pal.
At 7:57.